In an extraordinary heavenly vision, Jesus Christ reveals that He is the divine physician. The Lord Jesus also reveals how those whom people think will be condemned are frequently saved, while those whom people or worldly opinion think will be saved are condemned. Christ then reveals how He judges by the interior rather than by the exterior of a person. This Virgo Potens production includes Book 3, chapters 31 to 34, from Prophecies and Revelations by Saint Bridget of Sweden. Book 3, chapter 31. Jesus Christ speaks to Saint Bridget, saying, "A doctor came to a distant and unknown realm, in which the king did not rule, but was ruled, because he had the heart of a hare. Seated on his throne, he seemed like an ass with a crown. His people devoted themselves to gluttony, forgetting honesty and justice, and hating everyone who spoke to them about the good that awaited in the future. When the doctor presented himself to the king, saying he was from a lovely country, and affirming that he had come because of his knowledge of human infirmities, the king, in wonder at the man and his words, answered, 'I have 2 prisoners to be beheaded tomorrow. One of them can scarcely breathe, but the other is more robust and stouter now than when he entered prison. Go to them, look at their faces, and see which of them is in the better health.' After the doctor had gone and examined them, he said to the king, 'The man whom you say is robust is almost a corpse, and will not survive. As for the other, however, there is good hope.' The king answered him, 'How do you know that?' The doctor said, 'Because the first man is full of harmful humors and vapor, and cannot be cured. The other man, who is exhausted, can easily be saved with some fresh air.' Then the king said, 'I shall call together my noblemen and counselors, so that they may see your wisdom and skill, and you will win honor in their sight.' The doctor said to him, 'No, do that by no means. You know your people are jealous of honor. If they cannot persecute a man with their actions, they destroy him with their talk. Wait, and I will make my wisdom known to you alone in private. This is how I have been taught. I have learned to display more wisdom in private than in public. I do not seek to win glory in your land of darkness, but I glory in the light of my fatherland. Besides, the healing time will not come until the south wind begins to blow and the sun appears at the meridian.' The king replied to him, 'How can that happen in my country? The sun rarely rises here, since we are beyond the climates, and the north wind always prevails among us. What good to me is your wisdom, or such a long delay for healing? I see that you are full of talk.' The doctor answered, 'The wise man must not be hasty. However, in order that I may not seem to you to be unreliable and unfriendly, let me take charge of these 2 men. I will take them to the borders of your kingdom, where the air is more suitable, and then you will see how much actions are worth and how much talk is worth.' The king answered him back, 'We are occupied with greater and more useful matters. Why do you distract us? Or what benefit does your teaching confer upon us? We have our delight in present goods, in the things we see and own. We do not aspire to future and uncertain rewards. But take the men, as you request. If you manage to show us something great and wonderful through them, we ourselves will proclaim you glorious, and have you proclaimed glorious.' So he took the men and led them off to a temperate climate. One of them passed away and died, but the other, refreshed by the gentle air, recuperated. I am that doctor who sent my words to the world in my longing to cure souls. Although I see the infirmities of many people, I only showed you 2 through whom you might admire my justice and mercy. I showed you one person whom the devil secretly possessed, and who was to receive an eternal punishment. However, to people his works seemed to be righteous, and were praised as such. I showed you a second person, whom the devil openly controlled, but whom I said was to be healed in his time, although not in a way open for men to see, as you were thinking. It was divine justice that the evil spirit began to control him by degrees, but the same justice also demanded that it should leave him by degrees, as in fact it did leave him up until the soul had been released from the body. Then the devil accompanied the soul to her judgment. The judge said to him, "You have chastised and sifted her like wheat. Now it belongs to me to crown her with a double crown because of her confession. Go away from the soul whom you chastised for so long. Come, happy soul, perceive my glory and joy with the senses of your spirit." To the other soul he said, "Since you did not have the true faith, and yet were honored and praised as being one of the faithful, and since you did not have the perfect deeds of the righteous, you will not have the wages of the faithful. During your lifetime you wondered why I would die for you, and why I humbled myself for you. Now I answer you that the faith of the Holy Church is true, and leads souls upward, while my passion and blood allows them to enter heaven. Therefore, your faithlessness and your false love will press you down into nothingness, and you will be nothing with respect to eternal spiritual goods. As to why the devil did not go out of that other man in the sight of everyone, I answer, this world is like a lowly hovel compared to the tabernacle that God inhabits, and the people provoke God to anger. This is why he went out by degrees, just as he had entered him. The Virgin Mary's words to Saint Bridget that show in allegory how God the Father chose her from among the saints to be his mother, and the port of salvation. Book 3, Chapter 32. The Mother of God speaks to Saint Bridget, saying, A certain person searching for precious stones came upon a magnet. He took it in his hand and kept it in his treasury. With its help he led his ship to a safe port. Likewise, my son searched among the many precious stones that are the saints, but he chose me especially as his mother, in order that by my help humanity might be led to the port of heaven. As a magnet attracts iron to itself, so too I attract hard hearts to God. This is why you should not be troubled if your heart sometimes feels hard, because this is for your greater reward. Christ's words to Saint Bridget, showing through the example of two men how he judges by the interior and not by the exterior. Book 3, Chapter 33. The Son of God speaks to Saint Bridget. You are wondering about two men, one of whom was like a square set stone, the other like a pilgrim to Jerusalem. However, neither of them achieved what you expected. The first man to whom you were sent was like a square set stone, firm in his convictions, but like Thomas, piously doubting. Accordingly, since it was not yet the time when wicked deeds were fulfilled, he tasted the wine but did not drink it. Regarding the second man, I said that he would be a fellow traveler to Jerusalem. This happened so that you might learn the true state of the man who is reputed to be righteous and holy. He is a religious in his habit, and a monk in his profession, but an apostate in his ways, a priest by his rank, but a slave to sin, a pilgrim by reputation, but a vagabond in intention, rumored to be bound for Jerusalem, but really headed for Babylon. Moreover, he left in disobedience and against the apostolic rules. Also, he is so infected with heresy that he believes and says that he will become pope in the future and bring about a complete restoration. His books give evidence of this as well. This is why he will die a sudden death, and, if he does not beware, he will join the company of the father of lies. Thus, you should not be troubled if certain things are said in an obscure way, or if predictions do not turn out as you expect, since God's words can be understood in various ways. Whenever this happens, I will point out the truth. But I am God, the true pilgrim bound for Jerusalem. I myself will be your fellow traveler. Explanation. The Spirit of God speaks. You have heard that the man I told you was like a square-set stone, and a pious doubter has died. May you know that he will not be in the number of those who tempted God in the desert, nor with those who sought a sign like that of the prophet Jonah, nor will those who stirred up persecution against me. No, he will be with those who had zeal and charity, although not yet perfectly. The Mother of God's words to Saint Bridget, symbolizing the soul by a ring and the body by a cloth, and about how the soul should be purified through discretion, and the body should be cleansed but not killed by abstinence. Book 3, Chapter 34. The Mother of God speaks. A ring is given to someone, but is too tight for his finger. So he asks advice of an enemy as to what should be done. The enemy answers him, "Cut the finger off so the ring will fit on it." A friend says to him, "Certainly not. Instead, make the ring wider with a hammer." Someone wants to filter and strain a drink for a powerful lord by using an unclean cloth, and asks advice of an enemy. He answers, "Cut everything that is unclean from the cloth, and use the clean parts you find to filter your lord's drink." A friend tells him, "By no means do that. Instead, the cloth should be washed and cleansed first, and then the drink should be filtered." The same thing applies even in spiritual matters. The ring represents the soul, the cloth represents the body. The soul, which should be placed on God's finger, should be made wider with the hammer of discretion and purification. The body should not be killed but cleansed through abstinence, so that the words of God can be spread abroad by means of it.
Welcome to the Virgo Potens YouTube channel. If you enjoy this video, give it a like. I also invite you to subscribe to this channel so that you won't miss new content. Please prayerfully consider supporting my work by becoming a patron of Virgo Potens on Patreon and/or by buying one of my books. My ebooks are available on Amazon as well as on the Apple Bookstore. For those who prefer a physical copy rather than an ebook, my book, Spiritual Warfare, Know Thy Enemy, is also available as a paperback on Amazon. If you are interested in making a one-time contribution, I suggest that you do so by simply buying one of my books. I am thankful for your support. Links to Patreon and to my books will be posted in the comments section of this video. The continuation of this work isn't possible without you. Lastly, and most importantly, please pray for me. May the Virgin Most Powerful guide and protect you.